Welcome to the Walpole Business Spotlight Show, brought to you through the efforts of the Walpole Chamber of Commerce and Walpole Community Television. My name's Harry Brusades. I'm the president of the Walpole Chamber, and I'm also your host. The show is brought to you for many reasons, but one in particular is to bring more information and education to our public in general regarding businesses and business services in the community through our members or other business owners or salespeople, so our people and our viewing audience can make knowledgeable, educated buying decisions. Today, I'm glad to introduce my guest, Bill O'Connell. Thank you, Bill, for being here today.
Harry, thanks for having me.
And Bill is from the law office of William F. O'Connell, PC, and they specialize in elder law, real estate, probate, and court litigation.
That's right.
All fun stuff.
It is. It is.
But very important stuff.
It is very important, and it's an interesting profession, and I really enjoy doing it.
Excellent. So before we get started, where is your office located?
Harry, my office is on Main Street. It's at 1333 Main Street, and we're upstairs on the second floor. We're in Suite E. So we are across the street from the renovated Cumberland Farms. Mm-hmm. Reliable Dry Cleaners is on the first floor. Dr. Mishley, the dentist office, is also on the first floor.
Okay.
And we're upstairs on the second floor.
Very nice location.
Thanks.
And I've been to the building. It's very nice. So you've been in Walpole for a long time?
Yes.
How long now?
Let's see. We moved here back in 1993. My wife and I got married and moved to Walpole right after we got married. And we actually love the town. Have 3 kids, and can't say enough about the town. We feel very fortunate to be part of the town. I've had my law practice. I've been practicing since 1996. I've been at this current location on Main Street since about 2002.
Okay. And how old are the kids?
The kids are 17. I have a senior in high school. I also have a sophomore in high school. 2 boys, a senior and sophomore are boys, and then I have a daughter who was in 6th grade.
Kind of where I am almost. Yeah, I get 19, 15, and 9. So we're all in it right now.
We're in the soup, Harry.
Yep. So I've gone through some of your resumes and LinkedIn profile, and you've been very well involved in Walpole as well, in different organizations. One is that I see you were on the zoning board of appeals for a while.
I was, yes.
Okay. And you were also vice president and a director of the Chamber of Commerce at one point.
At one time, it seems like a long time ago,
okay.
But it was nice to be part of it's still nice to be part of the chamber.
Yes, absolutely. And Walpole Economic Development, Industrial Corporation as well, former clerk.
Right.
Great. Anything else you're doing locally in the town right now?
At this point, just with the son getting close to college, just trying to work as much as I can, and my kids are involved in sports, and I try to stay active with them in sports and watching them play sports.
Very well. As far as going back in history a little bit, did I see that you're a CM alum as well?
I am, yes.
Class of, what was it, 83?
A long time ago, Harry, 1982.
82.
So, please don't do the math.
Okay. Go Knights.
Yeah, great place.
All right,
great
I was
place.
class of 85.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Excellent education, great organization. And then off to college. Where'd you go to college?
I went to Boston College.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the CM grads went to BC.
We probably had 25 or 30 guys at the time that went over. We commuted over at the time, and the school's really changed since then, but we were fortunate to be able to study over there, and it was a great place, and I met a lot of great friends and contacts, and it was nice.
Now, through BC, did you study law at BC, or did you have to go to law school after that?
I went to law school after that. So at BC, I was liberal arts. I studied economics.
Okay.
And then had worked for some time before I went back to law school.
Yep.
Went back to law school in my late 20s.
And did you always kind of know that you were going to be gravitating to a law degree and law practice?
I kind of always had the bug. And it's something I was, fortunate to be able to do. But I kind of always had the inkling that it's something that I would like to explore, and again, I'm fortunate to have had the opportunity to go to law school and practice.
Very nice. So, every attorney gets into law and then usually finds their niche.
Right.
Okay? And I think you've got a couple of them.
Right.
But we're going to kind of concentrate on probably one or two.
Sure.
In particular. So as far as your concentrations, we know one is elder law, another one we'll call estate planning, and then we also have real estate and civil litigation, and I believe I said probate as well.
Yes, you did.
Right, okay. So those are some of the avenues that you practice in. But so let's get right into the elder law piece, okay? I know when we were talking earlier, I think as far as the general public is concerned, I'd like to talk about the distinction between just general estate planning versus elder law.
Right.
Okay, so let's go into that a little bit.
So I would consider elder law really a subspecialty of estate planning, and elder law deals with the areas of asset protection involving elders who may be at the age where potentially one spouse unfortunately has to enter a nursing home, and they have assets, they have a house, they have real estate, they could have other real estate, and they're trying to protect some of those assets. So elder law is again a subspecialty. It deals with some of the potential planning that's involved for folks that may need long-term care, may involve long-term care insurance, annuities. There are certain vehicles and documents that can assist those folks who may want to do some elder law planning, including wills and trusts, as well as power of attorneys, which we can talk a little bit about, healthcare proxies. So you're going to find when we talk about general estate planning in the bigger area, some of those documents and those vehicles, including wills and power of attorneys and trusts, are also part of estate planning. But again, elder law will deal with some of the specific instances where folks may need some long-term care, whether it's in an assisted living facility, a nursing home, whether they may need, they're trying to stay at home and they may need 24-hour care, they may need some services, and they're trying to finance the cost of some of those services. Estate planning, again, is a broader area, and that could deal with just wills and trusts for folks who are not elderly, who could be a young family who just had a child, and they're looking to make sure that they have documents in place so that, God forbid, something happened, their child or their children would be taken care of. And those documents, again, for folks that are, young couples that have just got married or they have kids, would include, potentially simple wills or wills with residuary trusts or family trusts. So that's, again, another component of estate planning. There's also another piece of estate planning for folks who may be older, who are also trying to protect some of their wealth and may be concerned about the potential, some of the potential estate tax, Massachusetts and federal estate tax issues that could potentially exist for estates over certain thresholds. So in those instances, again, for couples who may be concerned about the Massachusetts estate tax, which still has a threshold of $1 million, they may want to undertake exploring credit shelter trusts, if there's life insurance involved, life insurance trusts, again, to make sure that the surviving spouse is protected, and then potentially to mitigate any potential Massachusetts and federal estate taxes. So again, we have elder law, which would consist of some issues with long-term care, including nursing homes, estate planning for younger couples, where they may want to, again, set up a guardian or a trustee for their young child, and then estate planning for couples who may be in their 40s or 50s, getting ready to retire and are concerned about potential estate tax mitigation. The other thing that we can talk about some of the vehicles and documents, but the other area that folks are concerned about, and one of the reasons that they explore engaging in estate planning documents, is to avoid probate. And I can talk about how the probate process works and what probate is.
Okay. So just to kind of give a surface level approach to where you've gone so far, number one, I would suggest that estate planning is an ongoing process that goes throughout the years, as far as how, as you're on this earth.
Right.
It's not you just come in, you get a will, and I'm done.
Right.
And hopefully everything goes okay. And it can kind of be segmented into different parts of your life. As you're starting out and you get married is maybe the first time that you start to think about something like that, because there's others in your life now versus just yourself that you might need to provide for or plan for.
Right.
And if I could take a quick moment right now at the show, part of the show, and talk to people about, as a financial advisor, when I talk about things when it comes to protection, whether it be life insurance or long-term care, the biggest hurdle that I have in my practice is getting people to talk about things that they don't even want to think about.
Absolutely.
Okay? And it comes right into your wheelhouse
Right.
on that end.
Right.
So at what point do people really start to think about this? And it's our job to really pound the table and inform and educate people so they don't sit back, and that they do take action
Right.
and get something in place. And I always say, just do something at the very least.
Right.
So like you said, the beginning parts can be your simple I love you wills, which are back and forth, husband and wife, health proxy, power of attorney, and then potentially family trust or insurance trust if you've got the right amount of insurance. Because I always tell people, and people don't think about this, if you've got $1 million, $2 million on husband and wife, worst case scenario is both of them, something happens to both of them at the same time. You want to make sure that you're leaving this money properly. You don't want these kids to get their money at 18 and go away.
Absolutely, Harry. Absolutely. And with kids, I think times are changing, and you'll see folks who may want to make sure that if their kids receive money at 22, they may be concerned that they receive a chunk of money at 22. So we can stagger trusts, obviously, to make sure that the assets are protected. An example would be a third of distributions at 25, another third at 30, and some folks will delay an ultimate distribution until their child's 35. So that's a very good point.
Sure. So now we've started with, say, the younger generation starting out in life, starting out with their family. Now they start progressing. Their job starts to yield more income. They start to have more children. They start to collect more assets. At what point would you suggest that review or update of documentation take place?
I suggest it every 3 to 5 years.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a good idea just to revisit everything, within 3 to 5 years, because potentially the tax laws are going to be changing, as well as potentially the probate code just changed recently. So it's always a good idea, just to, in light of your assets changing, to revisit those issues and those documents every 3 to 5 years.
Okay. So, I guess somebody sitting back and watching the show would be like, okay, I got to pay for all this legal documentation and services, and then 3 years later, am I repaying the same amount as I did before, or is it more of a smaller hourly rate and a review? All right, not a lot has changed. We're okay. On you go.
Right. No. I think it's obvious. Obviously, they want to make sure that whatever documents they put in place are going to have value, and I want to make sure that if a client comes to me, a younger client, that they come back to me. So I want to make sure that the value is there with respect to those documents, and make sure that they consider documents and vehicles that are appropriate for them, that are cost effective for them. And if they need to come back and and revisit it and do other documents later on, that again, that value was there. If someone comes in and there's no need for them to, to have extensive trusts early on, again, I'll make sure that I recommend that the documents that are put in place are cost effective and provide value to them.
That's great, and I think that also leans right to making sure you're working with somebody that's honest and has integrity and is trustworthy. And everything that we try to promote through the Walpole Chamber is about working with people that we know,
right,
like, and trust, and that have a reputation amongst peers in and around Walpole that are giving out that information and doing the right thing.
Right.
At the end of the day, they're not there to just get another paycheck. They're there to provide services and provide the right amount of expertise. All right. So now let's keep moving through this timeline.
Sure.
Okay. Now the husband and wife are in their late 40s, and maybe the kids are now through college or not. But let's say they have burdened the task of paying for college, and now they're like, oh my goodness, retirement is only 15 years away.
Sure.
I need to start catching up.
Right.
The unfortunate part is we have this new generation called the sandwich generation. And what that is people that are now at that time of their life now think they need to ratchet up, start saving more, and catch up for retirement. But one thing that can now rear its ugly head is their parents. And oh my goodness, mom and dad have never done estate planning. They
Right.
come from the old school of thought. How do we get our parents to the table, and really try to drive that home so they get that done?
It's such a difficult process, and as you had mentioned earlier, it's not the type of thing that anyone really wants to, take a look at. But people know, inherently people know that it's something they need to do, and I find that folks are receptive to because they want to make sure that their kids, their adult kids, are that the process is as smooth as possible. So I think one way to approach it with elderly parents is just to ask them if they have any documents in place, especially a durable power of attorney, which is just a very simple document which would take effect in the event someone became incapacitated. Mm-hmm. And what that document does is it would obviate the need for a guardianship or a conservatorship at the probate court, just by making sure that the elderly person has a power of attorney. They name someone. It could potentially take effect immediately, or it could be springing. But that's really an important document, almost as important as a will or a trust, because if they don't have it, then potential and something happens, they're incapacitated, they have a stroke, they have a car accident, they can't pay their bills, their kids aren't on their bank accounts, then you're into a situation where the child could potentially become burdened with having to go into court, in unnecessary expense and petitioning for a guardianship or a conservatorship to handle their financial affairs. So I think that's a good way to delve into it. Just ask your parents what they have, and no one wants to think about long-term care and potentially a nursing home, but it's something that if folks can think about it ahead of time, mm-hmm. there are some simple planning opportunities that can be put in place mm-hmm. that can at least begin to have them head in the right direction.
So you brought up something that we want to talk about too, which is avoiding probate.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that. I guess let's use the example of that last parent does pass away.
Right.
And there wasn't any legal documentation in place. What would happen if that's the case?
Well, at that point, if there's no will in place, then the laws of intestacy in Massachusetts, all right, will then take effect, and those designations and distributions will then the estate of the person that dies without a will then be administered according to the intestacy statute and the probate code. So it's a good idea to make sure that for that reason to make sure that their folks' parents really take a look at potentially what could happen in the event there's not a will or a trust in place.
And for some people too, it's just a matter of privacy. You don't want that information to be public knowledge because it is public knowledge if it goes through probate, right?
It is. And you would mention potentially avoiding probate, which is something that can be done through some vehicles and estate planning documents, including a trust. For example, if someone wants to try to keep an asset or their home out of probate, and again, probate probate will apply to an individual, a decedent's assets that are in his or her name upon her death, but they will not apply. Probate will not apply, and no probate will be necessary if a decedent has a life insurance policy with the beneficiary, a 401k or a 403b with the beneficiary, or if an individual, the decedent, had transferred an asset or real estate into a trust during their lifetime. So, for example, if the individual wanted to establish a trust, a revocable trust, which means they can change it and convey or transfer their home into the revocable trust during their lifetime, then the home would be outside of probate, which means that whomever is named as the trustee of the trust could then sell the home upon their parents or the decedent's death, all right, without probate, without having to file a probate, or if a probate is filed and there's real estate involved, then potentially you could need a license to sell if there's not certain provisions in the will. So avoiding probate is something, again, that is another reason for folks to really consider at least starting the process, thinking about some estate planning documents. Probate really is just a mechanism for creditors to come forward within 1 year from the decedent's date of death. It doesn't mean that assets can't be marshaled and distributed, but it is easier if the assets of the real estate are outside of the individual's probate estate and they're in a trust or they have a beneficiary.
Absolutely. Yeah, and again, a lot of time it's just more about, with your assets, home, what have you, you want to be directing, most people want to direct a specific asset to a specific person.
Right.
And if you're not doing that trust, that may not happen. It could be divvied up, between the children.
Right.
And maybe that's not what you want. Maybe that is what you want.
Right.
But whatever you do want, you should be sitting down with an attorney and making that clear and getting the appropriate recommendation. So just to also make sure that we talk about the differences between revocable and irrevocable, as you said, revocable can be changed.
Right.
Irrevocable, in reality, can't be changed or shouldn't be changed. And you are, without a doubt, giving up control or ownership of that asset to take it out of your estate. Now we're talking about asset management or asset planning, correct?
Correct. Or for mass health or for Medicaid planning purposes, you'll see a mechanism called an irrevocable income-only trust or Medicaid trust, which, again, results in the transfer of the home or the asset to this trust, and there are definitely some risks and loss of control issues that an elder needs to examine before engaging in setting up one of those trusts, because they may have some interest, but potentially they could lose a great deal of control. And there are certain reasons that folks would want to establish an irrevocable trust, not only for Medicaid purposes, but also for life insurance purposes and asset removal and gifting purposes. But it's a good idea to make sure that they definitely understand what the benefits and what the risks are.
So again, as we talked about, things are currently changing, and it's good to be reviewing every 3 to 5 years. So right now, currently, when we do put an asset into a trust, that being a irrevocable trust, and we're trying to avoid taxes, whether that be state or federal. Currently, we have a 5-year look-back period.
Well, the 5-year look back, and folks will hear about the 5-year look back. The 5-year look back really applies to Medicaid or mass health planning. You're going to hear Medicaid and mass health, those terms used interchangeably. And mass health is the federal and state. It's a joint program that administers long-term care planning, and there are some benefits for nursing home and long-term care, but certain eligibility requirements have to be met in order for one spouse, God forbid one spouse has to go in a nursing home, or if it's a single individual who may need a nursing home and is looking for Medicaid to pay for that. There are certain eligibility requirements. So when you hear about the 5-year look back, generally you hear about it in the context of Medicaid trusts.
Sure. You know, and when we talk to our clients about other different potential risks when it comes to retirement planning or financial planning, you know, most people think market crash or stock, you know, volatility risk, tax risk. The most important risk today, I think, on the table is longevity risk, because people are living a lot longer these days, and a lot more people are going to be needing long-term care as they progress in life. So, you know, the general question is, you've worked so hard in life, you've worked so well to accumulate assets. Do you just want to see them plundered when the long-term care need comes around? And currently, I believe you have to use all of your available assets down to a level of $2,000-$3,000
for a single individual. Yes,
Yeah.
and the rules are different. Again, within the context of mass health or Medicaid, the rules are different for individuals with respect to the real estate and other assets, and then married couples. Again, if one spouse had to go into a nursing home, the rules and the asset eligibility and income requirements are different for spouses.
Right, exactly. So, you know, we're going to get kind of close to wrapping up. There's so much to talk about when it comes to this field. So if anything can be brought to light with this show today, it is to meet with an attorney, preferably Bill O'Connell, and speak with them about what the current rules are, the current laws, the current taxes, and try to figure out what's going to be the best fit for you, because there's no just one plan for every person. Everybody's life is different, correct? Right. And I would also suggest that, you know, when people start to talk to us about protecting assets or estate planning, a lot of times I'll, you know, give them some feedback about, you know, it's not always about the assets. It can be more about protecting you and your independence and your integrity, because when that stuff starts to occur when you're 75, 80, you know, you want the help.
Right.
And you don't want to have to be going to your children and saying, I need this, I need this. If you could have that provided for you, and stop what we usually see happen when the siblings have to now start stepping up and take care of mom or dad, or I did more than you did, I deserve this. That's when everything, again, that you've worked so hard for and brought a family up in this world, now the problems start.
Right.
And you can avoid a lot of that by planning appropriately, whether it be with assets and financial things, but also through the legal side, by doing the proper things. So, again, I thank you very much for coming today.
Harry, appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
That was great. Quickly, any good hobbies?
Just
Got you on the spot.
Just watching sports.
Watching sports and working and helping the kids.
Pretty boring.
Yeah.
Pretty boring.
Well, I thank you again for viewing the show. As I said before, it's all about getting to know, like, and trust people. We like to provide information to the general public at large here in Walpole, so you guys can make great buying decisions. Again, thank you for viewing. Be well, be safe.